Welcome to the Bending the Bracket podcast. Here are your hosts, Ben Madison and Lane Smith.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bending the Bracket. I am your host, Ben Madison, alongside my co-host, Lane Smith, as always. Mr. Lane, what is good?
Doing great, sir. Just trying to wind down a Sunday and seeing these games that we're on. And man, there were some surprisingly great games this week to talk about.
There sure were. There were three going on at the same time this afternoon that I was glued to. Some good early action. A great Sunday night game if you're a Saints fan like yourself. That one is a bit surprising, but I've been telling you, the Saints are for
I don't know
real.
if anybody believes me when I say I'm a Saints fan because I've been so hard on them this year. But
I think you probably go out of your way to try to not look biased, and that's fine.
That's part of it. But I really just didn't have any expectations for this team coming into the season. Really did not have anything. I didn't think they'd be anything. I thought they'd be 10-6, and barely make the playoffs. And what they're doing tonight against Tampa Bay is they are destroying Tampa Bay. There's not a better word for it.
No, they are destroying them. Of course, Tampa Bay's way overrated in the media and by you, but it is what it is. I think they're just decent. I think they're a 9-7 myself, and they look like a 4-12 tonight. They're just not.
Well, this is your, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is your typical letdown game for Tampa. They have these against every team that they should be able to handle, because if you think they're that good, teams like the Saints and these, the Bears, they should be able to handle these teams, and they have trouble.
Yeah, they do. And you can change your quarterback all you want to, and you can bring in Tom Brady. He's still a culture changer to an extent, but at the end of the day, it's the same loose culture. It's Bruce Arians, who really, what has he ever done? I mean, he's had some good portions of seasons. He had some success in Arizona for sure, but I don't know that he just doesn't feel like the right coach for this team. And I like him, don't get me wrong, but to me, he doesn't match up with Tom Brady's style at all. And so it's going to be interesting to see. I think they'll be in the playoffs, don't get me wrong, but I don't know really how far they're going to be able to go because of this inconsistency.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't understand Arians' hire when it first happened. But there's smarter people than me there. Maybe they saw something I didn't, but I didn't understand a hire from the beginning.
Well, I think a lot of times we overestimate how smart or not smart these people are. I mean, if you look around the league and really any professional sport, at some of the ridiculous moves that teams make, from player personnel to hiring and firing of coaches. And we just assume that they're all so smart, but I'm not so sure sometimes.
And I think you fall in love with the coach that, like Arians had a lot of success in Arizona. And maybe you looked at that, maybe you thought, okay, I need this guy. And he's not the same guy. So he was retired. He's out of the league for a year or two. So typically those guys don't just come back in the league unless you're John Gruden and make a name for yourself where you left off.
Yeah, speaking of Gruden, now we're going to get to that game. That was another really thrilling game.
Absolutely.
So let's start out in Buffalo. That was an offensive shootout, and the Buffalo Bills beat the Seattle Seahawks 44-34. Seattle 4 turnovers, Russ with 2 picks. Russ still had a solid game, but those 2 picks were costly. And this game shocked you, didn't it?
That is very surprising. I thought Seattle would, I wouldn't say handle the Buffalo Bills, but I certainly thought they beat them. I knew it was on the road, it was cross-country trip for Seattle, but with Wilson, Buffalo's been struggling, maybe not struggling, it's not the right word, but they just not looked quite the same as they did in that first month of the season. So maybe I was kind of just downplaying the Bills, but they might be better than what I thought.
Yeah, they're so hard to figure out. We've discussed several times, we don't know, you don't know what the Raiders are, and that's how I feel about the Bills. Today they were on, and when they're on, they're excellent. They were on today. Josh Allen, 31 of 38, 415, 3 touchdowns. He reverted back to his old self from the first month of the season. And, if he could be this consistent, he would be a top quarterback. This team has a good defense. When they're clicking on all cylinders, they're very hard to beat.
They are. They really are, because that's something that Seattle does not have, is a good defense. And now they're getting healthier. I think that defense is going to be better. So how good they'll be, I have no idea, but we'll see in the coming weeks. But this game today was certainly an eye opener for Seahawks fans and Bills fans alike. Josh Allen looked like the Josh Allen that we saw starting the season. He was amazing, 31-38, 415 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. And Wilson, I mean, he had a good game, 28-41, 390 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he threw 2 picks.
Yeah, and we can't expect him to be perfect. He's always great. And this is the problem. This defense is not just, typical run-of-the-mill, middle of the league, middle of the pack. They're horrible. And any team, any quarterback that's having, a little bit of a slump can always have a get-right game against Seattle, because that defense is terrible.
Yes, they are. They are. And, Jamal Adams is finally back, so that was a good thing for them. But it's going to take him time to get acclimated. He's not going to jump right back in. So, and I'm sure his conditioning stayed up, but I'm sure that's at least part of his getting back in that game shape.
Yeah, it's possible. I just think that when the rubber meets the road and this team gets into the playoffs, a lot of people still think they're a Super Bowl contender, and it will all depend on Russ, because he has to be perfect. He has everything with his team, as we've discussed before, and this defense really doesn't show any signs of improvement yet. We'll see how they do as the season progresses, but here we are, a little past the halfway point, and not a lot of good on that defense.
You can bet that nobody's taking her harder than Russell Wilson tonight.
Yeah, I mean, anytime they lose, he takes it on himself, but he pretty much is the difference between them being a 6-2 and a 2-6 football team.
Right.
So let's stay in that division and talk about that Miami and Arizona game, which was an absolute thriller. This game was everything I hoped it would be and more. You saw Kyler Murray against Tua Tagovailoa, and it was literally the future of the league at quarterback on display.
Well, maybe Tua's not that bad. Last week, I think people were writing a book on him already after one start, and he came out today and he looked awesome. He looked like a veteran today.
He did. He was 20 of 28, 248, 2 touchdowns, very efficient. On the other side of the field, of course, Murray was as well, 21 of 26, 283, 3 touchdowns. Murray played a fantastic game. He had a 150 passer rating. Of course, Tua's is 122. That's nothing to sneeze at. And when it mattered, Tua made the plays. That one scramble where he looked like he was going to be sacked, and he somehow wiggled his way out of the pocket, ran for a first down. I want to say it was the very next play. He hits the tight end for the touchdown. Just a beautiful throw. I mean, he, like you said, he looks like a veteran. He looks like he's been in the league a while. And, the criticism on him is he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he doesn't have the strongest arm, but he just has that it factor. And you saw that today, and he stepped up in his second career start, and he went toe-to-toe with Kyler Murray.
He did. No way to argue that. He was great. The team behind him played great. Defense played okay. It's just a night and day difference. You couldn't have asked for better. Even if you're Brian Flores today, you got to be really happy with what you saw.
Yeah, and the story, the unofficial story, of course, with this Dolphins team, even 2 weeks ago when they decided to go ahead and start Tua, was, well, they're 3-3. They've beaten some bad teams. They're not even a playoff consideration this season. Well, I think that's all changed now.
Yep.
And while Buffalo is 7-2, Buffalo is 2 games ahead of them, 1.5 games ahead of them, I guess you could say. I believe they can compete for this division right now.
Yeah, they can.
Absolutely.
They can. They're ready.
They're ready. They're coached so well, which you've been saying that for 2 years under Brian Flores. The defense is really good. I know they gave up 31 today, but they gave up 31 to the number 1 ranked overall offense in the league in Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. And this was just a big, gutsy win on the road that no one thought they'd win.
I sure didn't see it coming.
I thought they would compete, but I really thought Arizona would pull away in the end, probably win by 10 to 13 points. But it was, like you said, they're ready now. They're ready to win now. For Arizona, this is a tough loss. Of course, Seattle as well with the loss, so they didn't really lose any ground in the division. And so we'll see how that goes. It's really, San Francisco with their injury issues, they're done. They're not even going to compete for that division. We'll see with the Rams. I'm not sure what they're going to end up doing. So to me, it's Arizona and Seattle for this division.
There's no way to argue that. I mean, it's very much so. Now, one thing I've kind of noticed with Arizona is they seem to struggle if they don't get Hopkins involved in the passing game.
Correct.
And they didn't do that today. You saw what happened. And they didn't really do that again in the other game they lost against Carolina. Now, I mean, it's not every time they've lost that he wasn't a factor, but in several games they've struggled. I've noticed that he has not been a factor. Today was one of those.
Yeah, the acquisition of DeAndre Hopkins really helped out Kyler Murray a lot, helped bring him to that next level to have that big number one receiver. And you can see a difference when he's not as active. That's absolutely accurate.
Man, he's getting paid a lot of money. You got to get him involved, get him in there week to week, and he's got to start playing better.
Yeah, and I don't think this is a bad loss to Arizona or for Arizona, rather. They were, of course, expecting to win the game, and were expected to win the game, but it wasn't a terrible loss. I mean, this Miami team is hot, and I don't think anyone wants to play this Miami team right now.
I wouldn't. They have been very well. They're playing out of their minds this year. And, if this had happened last year, then yeah, this is a loss. This is an ugly loss. But this year, this is not the same Miami team, and you can't look at that loss and say that that's a bad loss or ugly loss. That's just, it's one of those things that just happens.
And yeah, did we think even a couple of weeks ago that you'd be talking about Buffalo and Miami knocking off two teams from that NFC West and looking like the superior division?
Certainly not Buffalo, but I can tell you, Miami, nothing surprises me. This team they've been playing well all year, and Flores is an excellent coach. And I mean, you saw what he did last year. There were nothing, and you see him build those pieces through the draft and what he's done at the quarterback position and the criticism he took for benching Fitzpatrick, and it's paid off thus far.
Yeah, it has. And I had no issue with them benching Fitzpatrick. I know we've discussed that quite a bit. And this kid is the future. Tagovailoa is the future. He's 2-0. Hey, I mean, last week he really didn't have much to do with that victory. He made a couple of throws. This week he played more of a key role in the offense, and you can see the results. So to me, the sky's the limit for this Miami team. I mean, are they going to go to the Super Bowl? No. But they can go to the playoffs this year, especially with a 7-team format.
Sure they can. Absolutely.
So seeing them in Buffalo down the stretch in this division, Miami very much alive. We know New England is all but out of it. The Jets they were out of it in week 1. So we'll see how that goes. But very good game. Probably my favorite game of the day.
Yeah, it was back and forth, and I was watching the Dallas game, but then this game they kept showing and cutting in and out of it. I'm like, golly, what is going on there? Because it seemed like every 30 seconds they were cutting in with another highlight.
Yeah, it was quite an entertaining game. And I really enjoy seeing this new style of quarterback. This is what the league is. This is what the league is moving to. Not that there's anything wrong with your traditional pocket passing, 6'4" stoic quarterback, but this is just so exciting. And for many years, people said that more of a college style just would not translate into the NFL. But now that the coaches are translating, they're bringing the offenses with them, and it's just working, and it's really entertaining.
And it's not going anywhere for a while. So if you don't it, you might as well get used to it.
That's it. Watch 70s Steelers highlights of 10-7 football games. That's all I can say. So let's talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they get away with one at home against the Carolina Panthers. And while they led a lot of the second half, Carolina had a little comeback going on there. And Carolina had a chance. I didn't like the way they managed their offense in that last minute or so of that game. I thought they had an opportunity to get in field goal range. I just don't like the way they did 2 or 3 consecutive dump off passes to the middle of the field with no timeouts. I just didn't like that at all. I thought they really blew an opportunity to win this game.
Yeah, and I chalked that up to just being a rookie head coach. I think
Yes.
that was something you'll learn from that. And you'll go on to be better for it. But Carolina did a lot of good things today. Bridgewater continues to be amazing this season. 310 yards passing, 36-49, and 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey back today. First time he's back in several weeks. He was 18 carries, 69 yards. Good to see him involved. He had a touchdown. And the Chiefs keep rolling. It wasn't the prettiest thing they've done, but it was a win. And you know, there's a reason they're the champs, and today showed it.
Yeah, a win is a win, and it would have been an epic upset had Carolina done it. So you got to give your hat, you got to give them their props, take your hats off to them. And Bridgewater's numbers, look, they were good, and they would be great if he wasn't playing Mahomes,
Right.
who once again had typical Mahomes numbers, 30 of 45, 372, 4 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, this is his normal performance. That's what's so amazing about it.
Yeah, this was kind of off for him.
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
you look at these numbers and you're thinking, why in the hell did you have 15 incompletions? What is wrong
Right.
with you?
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
I mean, it's we demand perfection from you. At
Mahomes
all
is struggling. Let's
times.
go to the backup.
Yeah, I mean, you might want to look at Chad Henne because this is not cutting it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, champions find a way to win close games, and they did it today. And when you look and you realize that this is a hard league, it's a hard league to win in. And from any given Sunday is one of the oldest things one of the oldest slogans I've ever heard, but it's so true. I mean, you look at the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, they get out of Dallas with a win by the skin of their teeth. It really didn't lead in that game at all until the end or near the end. And for the Chiefs here, also a huge favorite, and they both favorites won, but it was not easy.
Right. No, it wasn't easy, and they're not all going to be easy. I mean, that's what else can you say?
That's it. It's the NFL. Everybody's good. Everyone is good. So Chiefs roll. Still at 1 loss. Pittsburgh Steelers, we'll cover that game real quick. They go into Dallas, and Garrett Gilbert gets a start for Dallas, and he looked pretty good.
I was shocked.
I was really impressed with him. And, I really didn't even have plans of watching that game because I just thought it was going to be a rout. But as I followed it, I started watching it in the second quarter, actually watching it, not just following it. And I was like, wow, they're competing. Yeah. And then they were up 19-9. And even at that point, I knew that Dallas could not win that game just because they're so much worse than Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh has a tendency to play down to the competition.
Pittsburgh is doing something that Tampa is not doing. When they're playing down to this competition, they're still finding ways to win late in the game. Tampa's struggling.
Yes, exactly. Pittsburgh remains perfect. They're 8-0. Wasn't anything to write home about at all, but when it mattered, they made the plays. So still the best record in football, but they showed you today that they're not unbeatable.
Well, they showed you that the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
Their run defense is suspect. They gave up a ton of yards last week and kind of thought maybe that was just an anomaly, but then, this Dallas team, they still rushed for 144 yards. So they do struggle with the run.
Yeah, that's the weakness on that defense. And so I do worry about them. Should they meet Baltimore in the playoffs? Should they meet Tennessee in the playoffs? Those teams can run the ball. And so it's going to be interesting. And even the Chiefs can run the ball. So that's the thing I'm starting to be a little concerned about. I know it's crazy to say you're concerned about an 8-0 football team, but they're 8-0, but they could easily be 5-3.
And best believe somebody like the Chiefs will realize all they got to do is run the ball, and it will pound it down their throat.
So let's look at this Raiders-Chargers game, which was another thrilling late afternoon game. The Raiders get out of there with a win. Controversial last-second call They reversed the touchdown for the Chargers. And this Raiders team is 5-3, and they're looking pretty solid.
And the Chargers continue to run head to head with the Atlanta Falcons on the worst ways to lose the game.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm watching Anthony Lynn try to plead his case on the last play of the game, and you're just thinking, man, I know this guy's a solid coach. This is a talented football team. You always thought Phillip Rivers may have been the reason, but he wasn't. And it wasn't even San Diego. They just carried this with them up to Los Angeles. And it's the same thing every week.
I don't know what the answer is.
It's they're like, it doesn't matter who they play. You look at the game and you're like, okay, they can win that game. And not that the Raiders are that much better than them, but record-wise they are. And the reason is the Chargers just do not know how to win football games.
They don't, and that's going to end up costing Lynn his job, and that's a shame.
Oh, for sure. He's done after this year.
He's a good coach. He just there's something going on in that team. They cannot, like you said, find ways to win a game. And
right,
it looks like maybe I'm cautiously saying this, but maybe the Raiders have finally figured out what they are and what they're not, and they look like a playoff team.
Yeah, they look good. And it's going to be interesting to see, because what I thought the NFC was going to be this year, the AFC is. And the NFC is down a bit, in my opinion. But for the AFC, there's a lot of good football teams. I mean, you have your top tier. You have your Pittsburgh, your Kansas City. Then you have Tennessee, Buffalo, Miami, Cleveland in the mix. You've got the Raiders in the mix. You've got a lot of teams that are going to be, playoff threats. So I think the Raiders are going to be one of those teams.
They could be. I mean, for a while, the Raiders were just really frustrating to me, and they would lose games they weren't supposed to lose, and you want to believe in them. And then, and now the last couple of weeks, they look solid.
They do look solid. And what's impressive to me is John Gruden taking a decade away and coming back and still being a really good head coach.
Absolutely. Can't say enough about Gruden. He's been the difference.
Yeah, and a lot of people just thought he would, the game would have passed him by.
I'm one of them.
And they thought it was going to be an epic disaster. And he's drafted well. Him and Mike Mayock have drafted well. And they knew what they were doing.
And Mayock's another guy that people kind of scoffed at. He's been excellent.
Yeah, they were laughing at him. And, everyone just crucified them when they sent Khalil Mack to Chicago. Well, that looks pretty good now because they got Josh Jacobs with that pick.
Yeah, it looks good. And they have also found a way to work together because, Gruden, he's got an ego, let's face it. And he's found a way to make it work with Mayock, and they work well together, and they draft together, and they make good decisions together, and it's not, they're not working against each other.
Absolutely. And that relationship is so important between a GM and a head coach, and it can be the most toxic thing in the organization if it's off.
I still don't know, and this is the only question with the Raiders. Derek Carr.
What?
What are they going to do? I mean, what
do you mean? What are they going to do?
Today he's 13-23, 165 yards passing. He's not going to have a week where he just lights it up. He's not going to have that 400 yards a game,
He does have those games.
Well, every now and then, but it's not consistent like the other guys are. And so I don't know.
They don't need him to.
No, they don't. But I just wonder if Gruden is going to continue to hang on to him when he could go out and get somebody that is more Gruden style.
What is not Gruden like about him?
Well, Gruden publicly says the right things, but I don't think anybody's ever thought that Gruden really was all in on him. We've had that discussion before.
Yeah, we have. And I don't know how much of that is media narrative, though. I mean, the Raiders ran the ball for 160 yards, so they didn't need Derek Carr to throw for 400 yards. I mean, the formula for this team is what you said. I mean, it's to run the ball, play decent enough defense, Derek Carr make the throws when he needs to, and when they ask him to do it, he does it.
And maybe I'm wrong on this. I think this is a contract year for Carr, either this year or next year.
I don't know off the top of my head if it is or not. I think it would be a mistake to move off of him just because, I mean, who are you going to get? He's a very good quarterback. And I know I think more highly of him than you do, but I don't know. I mean, they're not going to have a top draft pick. So you're not going to trade for anything better in the league. And taking a low first round, second round quarterback, you're not going to get anything better than him. So
the best you can probably do is Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he's way better than Sam Darnold. You know that.
No comment.
Oh, whoa. Are you hate?
No, he is better. He's better than Darnold. I'm not saying that.
Well, from what you've said about Darnold, you should be saying, "Oh, he's worlds better than Darnold."
Yeah, no, he is. I was going to make the point. So is everybody else in the league, but I felt like not criticizing Darnold.
Well, that's not true. I mean, he's better than Ben DiNucci. He's better than this year Andy Dalton. He's better than. I'm sure there's some others. Can't think of them off the top of my head. But look, it's the organization, man. He's got no one to throw to, just like you say with Cam. He's got no one to throw to.
Saying I don't buy it because Burrow's dealing with a lot of the same issues and no offensive line, and
Burrow's got some players, man. Burrow's got T. Higgins. Burrow's got AJ Green. He's got Giovanni Bernard. He's got some players around him.
But he's got no offensive line, no protection up front, and he's hurried on every play.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of quarterbacks in the league. That's Sam Darnold's life.
Right.
That's his life story.
I know. Those guys, they make it work.
Yeah, but I'm not saying he's Burrow. I mean, Burrow is...
No, I'm not either. I'm just
amazing.
making the point. That other quarterbacks find a way. But we're getting off of that. We do this every week. Every week. We find a way every week to get on Darnold.
Every week. So, what are your thoughts on the Jets quarterback, Samuel Darnold?
Yeah, let's listen to previous 13 shows. You'll know where I stand.
No more Darnold. Okay. Well, he's going to go to San Francisco next year, and I can't wait for that.
No, I think he's going to be all in on Matt Ryan.
No, you get Darnold way cheaper.
Yeah, he can, but he's had success with Matt Ryan. He doesn't know what he can or can't do with Sam Darnold.
I don't think he's going to get Ryan if he has to pay Ryan what Ryan makes, and he would have to do that.
Did you hear what Shanahan said about Burrow?
No.
He was in a meeting with I think it was somebody in the league. I think it was right around the draft, and he just said, "I wish I had Burrow. We could make magic." He said, I would have multiple Super Bowls with Burrow."
This is before the season started?
Yes.
Wow, that's impressive. So
yeah,
he saw more in him than some people did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, Burrow's far exceeded my expectations. I mean, by a mile.
Yeah.
By a mile.
So that makes you wonder, too, in a couple of years, Burrow's up for a contract, if Shanahan might make a run.
I don't think there's any way Cincinnati lets him go.
Or, follow me on this, Cincinnati's going to have a head coaching opening at the end of the year. Wouldn't that be something?
There's no chance that there's no. Why in the world? Why in the world would any self-respecting coach leave San Francisco in their history for Cincinnati? Are you kidding me?
If he believes in Burrow that much and wants to work with him,
yeah, but look at the whole other roster. When San Francisco's not injured, that's an elite roster. The defense, special teams, the running game.
Yeah, I know.
The GM, the organization is so much better.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. The chances are very slim. It's at least a possibility worth entertaining just because of what he said about Burrow publicly.
I just don't think you even consider leaving all of those other factors just for a player when that player could in one play end his career and then you're stuck in the Cincinnati organization. I mean, I just think.
Here's another thought. What about Josh McDaniels?
Josh McDaniels, no one should ever give him a head coaching opportunity again. Ever.
Oh, I disagree.
Ever. No, he screwed the Colts. Now, they're lucky because they got off better because he's not a good head coach and he's just a better coordinator. I don't know why but once he did what he did, no, absolutely not. No.
That was a bad look for sure, but I think he'll get a job again.
But why?
Because I think that people want to see him get another opportunity. I think it was Denver's a long time ago, and you'd like to think he learned some stuff and moved on from that, and hopefully better for it.
I mean, I just don't know why everyone has to think that if you're a good coordinator that you're just going to magically be a good head coach. It's a totally different job.
No, some are and some aren't, but it's worth exploring.
I just think there's a lot of other options that haven't committed to a job and then turned around mid-flight and let an organization completely build around you, and then you bitch out at the last minute. I don't know. That's unforgivable to me.
I tell you, I mean, Cincinnati's going to have a lot of options that they have not had in a while because of Burrow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you get the quarterback right. That's 70% of it.
Right. They're going to have a lot of coaches, good coaches, calling them and inquiring.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree with you. While I disagree on Shanahan just because of what he currently has.
No, that's fair. I know. It's a long shot. I'm just throwing it out there.
But yeah, if you're somebody like, I don't know about Brian Kelly, but he's having, success. But if you're one of these young and up and coming coaches that is going to get that job like Joe Brady, you got to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're going to have you can almost have anybody you want right now because where in the past years you almost had to settle because you didn't have anybody. You weren't working anything special, and Cincinnati is Cincinnati, but you finally nailed the quarterback. So, and you've got a receiving core, as we talked about. You got a good, not great running game. So that you got something to work with.
I don't know about anybody you want, but you can definitely get more than you could get before.
Absolutely.
But because if you're a top coach, if you're Urban Meyer trying to go to the NFL, I don't know that you go to Cincinnati. I think he can pretty much just hold off for the absolute perfect offer.
I wouldn't want that. I think that'd be a mistake on Cincinnati's part.
You think he's overrated?
We've never seen him in the NFL. He's been out of the game now for a year, 2 years. And so it doesn't excite me.
Well, Mike McCarthy was out of the game for a year.
McCarthy didn't excite me either. I thought it was.
You can't tell.
No,
right? I mean, the start his team is off.
Yeah, he's been
to.
excellent.
I mean, they almost won. Isn't that good enough? It's good. They're only 2-7.
Yeah.
Stop freaking out. They're going to finish 9-7, and they're still going to go to the Super Bowl. That's what the Cowboys fans are telling me. I mean, they're never wrong.
Cowboys fans are
never wrong.
Yeah, well,
they're the most realistic fan base in sports, and they're talking about it's too early to say we're out of the running for the playoffs. I mean, we can't win a game, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It's the same LSU is the same kind of fan base.
Yeah, and I think most fan bases are that way. When you just get down to it, the Cowboys fans just get more attention because they're the Cowboys fans. But at the end of the day, most fan bases are completely unrealistic. That's why they call them fans, which is short for fanatic.
Right.
So I don't know. What do you do? Just to go kind of around the league, wrap up some of the other scores. Broncos 27, Falcons 34. Falcons get the win. At home, Matt Ryan has a big day. He can still play. 25 of 35, 284, 3 touchdowns. He did have the one pick. Drew Lock had a solid game. 25 of 48, not too good on the completion percentage, but 313, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Other games would be the Ravens 24, Colts 10. Ravens took care of them pretty easily today, which I felt they would. I think we discussed this a little bit the other day, how the Colts may or may not be a fraud, depending on who they play, and that kind of came to light today. So the Colts they may be a wild card team, but Tennessee's going to win that division,
right?
I mean, I just don't see how you get around that. Houston beats the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-25. The Jags did start the kid Jake Luton or Lawton. I don't remember how you say it, but he played well. 26 of 38, 304. He did have a pick, 1 touchdown, but he looked pretty good. I don't know if you got to see any of his play, but he's a big kid. He's 6'6". He's got a real strong arm. Kind of reminds me of Justin Herbert.
Wow, that's high praise.
Yeah.
I did not see that game. I wonder, did they see enough to move off of Minshew?
I don't think you need to see much at this point, but it's they may. I mean, I would. I don't know because I think Minshew's just a journeyman.
He's average.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
nothing wrong
could
with
start
that.
for the Jaguars. Doesn't take much.
Right, either way, whatever.
They called me the other day, but I had my phone on silent, so
prior commitment.
Yeah, prior commitment. I was washing my hair. I don't have any hair, but NFC North battle. The Vikings knock off the Lions 34-20. Dalvin Cook is probably the most underrated back in football. When he's healthy, he is a monster. Yes. He ran for,
where did that come from?
He ran for 206 today, a 9.4 average.
Unbelievable.
Where did he come from, or where did this team come from?
Where did this success from Dalvin Cook come from? Because he's been in the league for a few years and he hasn't had success.
But he's been great for a while now.
He's shown flashes, but I mean, this year's consistently get high 100, 150 yards rushing or 200 yards rushing. Has been a different animal.
He's a dynamic player. I mean, he just is. He's fun to watch. He went over 200 today, as I said, 206. This Minnesota team is so weird. They remind me a lot of Atlanta, and that they can beat anybody and then they can lose to anybody. This Minnesota team, 2 straight wins now. I mean, they would have to go on quite a run, but they are 3-5 now, which is a lot better than 1-5. They're not dead for a 7th seed.
They're not. I was fixing to say that the Vikings all of a sudden they have some life and they might be able to sneak in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they're scary. I mean, they look last year they upset New Orleans. No one thought that would happen. The thing though that is also scary about the Vikings in a bad way is their quarterback. He's just so inconsistent. And if they can get in these games where they can get the lead and let Dalvin Cook take care of it, and Alexander Mattison is another excellent back who is their other back, and he's really good too.
That's I'm shocked. This team looked dead in the water for first month of the season, month and a half of the season. All of a sudden they have some life.
They really do. And today is the formula for them. Cousins, 13 of 20. That is all he needs to do. 22 throws a game, 3 touchdowns. He was efficient, very efficient. Stafford left the game with an injury. Not that it really mattered. Concussion protocol for him. So we'll see how this Vikings team does. But they knocked off Green Bay convincingly last week. They knock off the Lions today. It's the Lions. Of course, the Lions were 3-3, or 3-4. I'm sorry. So, is what it is. But you can only beat the teams in front of you who are on your schedule. It's a division win. You start looking away. The NFC is shaping up or shaping down, really, with a lot of teams underperforming. Yeah. The Vikings are alive.
They're alive, and we'll see what they do the rest of the way. But if Dalvin Cook stays healthy, this team's a threat.
Absolutely. A couple other scores around the league. Titans knock off the Bears 24-17. Titans get back on the winning track. The New York Football Giants hold on to beat the Washington football team 23-20. They were up big in that game. Washington came back and gave them a little scare, but they held on to that game in what is a completely irrelevant NFC East matchup. And so Monday night we're going to have the Patriots and Jets play. That should be a snooze fest. To show you how bad the Jets are, the Patriots are a 9.5 road favorite.
God.
Against the Jets, and the New England is nothing to write home about.
Not at all.
Saints game still 31-0, so no score of any kind in the third. It's now the end of the third quarter. They're shutting out that Tampa Bay offense.
And I don't know what happened, because I know early in the third quarter, I got a notification Tampa was in the red zone, so I don't know what happened there. But this is unbelievable. I didn't see this coming.
It's a dominating performance, and and it's going to put them up by half a game, but it's going to be a season sweep for the Saints. So they're going to have beaten them both times head to head, which is huge.
Hey, it's not over yet.
It's 31-0. It's over.
There's a full quarter left.
This is not the Falcons in the Super Bowl, okay? Tom Brady is currently 18 of 33, 155, 0 TDs, 3 interceptions.
I think he had 3 against him the first time, too.
And a 29.2 passer rating.
Ridiculous.
So this is the Tampa team that I'm supposed to be so scared of. Everyone keeps telling me, boy, they're intimidating. Man. And then once
a defense can't miss.
Once they added Antonio Brown, they were going to be unstoppable. Well, we'll see.
Speaking of, what's he done?
Just kind of waiting on that to roll around.
Antonio Brown, 3 receptions for 31 yards.
There you go. And that's what they said they were going to use him for. You know, they weren't going to let him be a feature player, but at this rate, they may want to look into that.
May want to think about it.
They may want to think about it.
You could do worse.
I'm sorry?
They've done worse.
They have?
You could do worse.
Oh, then Antonio, of course. Of course.
And they've done worse.
I mean, I still think he can play at a really high level. If he can keep his act together, you know, he and Tom are roommates yet again. They're roomies. He's moved into the castle down there, so we'll see. We'll see how long he plays for him. I think he'll keep his act together in Tampa. I just don't know. This Tampa team is weird. I can't figure him out.
They're very weird, and he'll keep his act together. I think
this
Brown
is last shot.
This
is last shot.
Hurrah, so.
And they'll come out next week and they'll look a lot better than this, and everyone will start talking Super Bowl again. But you can't play like this if you're a real contender.
No, they're not a contender.
They're in Carolina next Sunday, so they're going to get back on track. They'll win that game.
But the Saints pretty much wrapped up this division tonight.
I'm not going to go that far because they're still only going to be a half game up. But the Saints, they're rolling. Well, they have four in a row now. This is the toughest test arguably on their schedule remaining, and they're making short work of them. But if you look at Tampa, look ahead at their schedule, they have Carolina next week. They have the Rams Monday Night Football the week after. That's going to be a tough game, although it is in Tampa. The Rams can definitely play with Tampa. Then Tampa is going to have the Chiefs. Okay, that's a really tough game. They would have to play so much better than this to beat the Chiefs. Then Tampa is on the bye. Then they have the Vikings, another very tough matchup. So Falcons a week after that. So they have some tough games. Even the games, then they have the Niners. Of course, that's not going to be too tough considering the Lions as well.
Yeah.
So, but those division games are no give me. The Saints are showing you right now, and Carolina can play with the best of them. They're going to give them a pretty tough game, and even Atlanta could knock them off.
How are the Saints only half game up? Because they've beaten Tampa both times. I think they've undefeated against the division.
Well, they're going to be a half game up on the win-loss column. If they were to tie, then they would have the tiebreaker. But the Saints right now are 5-2, and Tampa's 6-2. So the Saints are going to go to 6-2, and Tampa's going to go to 6-3. So they'll be tied in the win column. Saints will be one game better in the loss column, so they'll have a half game lead. But they'll also own the tiebreaker because Tampa hasn't had their bye yet. So, if they both finish 12-4, for example, the Saints would take the division.
Okay, that's important. They need that.
But Tampa's not going to win.
So theoretically, the Saints could be still alive for the bye week.
Oh yeah, they're going to be 6-2. Seattle lost today. Seattle's 6-2. Green Bay is 6-2. So there's a 3-way tie right now for that number 1 seed. Although I feel like the Washington football team is probably going to come back and take it.
Yes. I was going to say Pittsburgh might have something to say, but
no. Well, Pittsburgh, that win today was very important for them to keep pace with Kansas City. Not only keep pace, but keep a game up on them. So they still have that number 1 seed. But right now you have Seattle, Green Bay, and New Orleans are all going to be tied for that number 1 seed. So that's going to be pretty fascinating. So New Orleans and Green Bay have already played this season. Green Bay did beat them head to head. So right now, Green Bay would still hold that spot. And we'll see. I'm not sure if they play Seattle. Do you know if they're going to play Seattle? I'll have to look on the schedule.
I don't know, but I got to think that Green Bay is good to drop at least one more game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they very well can.
And I can't say that about the Saints. They might not. They got Michael Thomas back now.
I don't think they're going to go 14-2. I mean, that's a tall order for a team that.
Yeah, but their division is easy. Their worst of their division is Tampa. They got that out of the way tonight.
Yeah.
And so the rest of their schedule. Let me look at this.
The Saints play very well in division. They dominate the Falcons. They pretty much dominate the Panthers. And while you didn't think they'd dominate Tampa this year, they have.
I didn't think they'd dominate Tampa, especially tonight, like they have. But they're doing a great job of that. So, let me see their schedule here.
Yeah.
So the Saints have the Niners in New Orleans next week. That's a win. Falcons at home. That's a win. Broncos on the road could be tough, but should be a win.
That has trap game written all over
right.
it, but they should be able to get it done.
Right. And then they have the Falcons again in Atlanta. That's a win. They have the Eagles. That could be good. Eagles in Philly.
Is that one in Philly?
It's tough. And then they have this. I hope they're undefeated going in, or not undefeated, but I hope they're still in this win streak. Because then you got Chiefs and Saints, December 20th.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I was thinking you were saying they're going to play themselves. Yeah, Chiefs and Saints. So Tampa and New Orleans both play that division. So it's an interdivision. That's right. The south of the NFC is playing the west of the AFC, so that makes sense. So yeah, that's going to be tough. But the Chiefs,
right?
Even though they won today, they showed you, just like Pittsburgh, they showed you that they're not perfect and they can be beaten.
No, I think not. But that's going to be a great game to watch.
Very entertaining.
Very entertaining.
And I'm not so sure the Saints beat the Falcons twice. I have a feeling they're going to split that. I think you almost have to build one of those games in. I think they'll win most of those games, but I think they're either going to drop one of the Atlanta games, that Philly game, or that Denver game. I would
agree with you, but you have to consider Sean Payton has completely owned the Falcons.
Oh, that's true. So we'll see. He hasn't played Raheem as head coach. Falcons are going to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. No, but they look better in all reality. They look better, and they're like Minnesota. They can beat you when you don't expect it. So we'll see how the playoff picture shapes up. I can't believe we're already 9 weeks through the season. It just started.
38-0 Saints.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go. I need a formal apology right now. How wrong you were and how right I was about how this Saints team is a Super Bowl team. They just are. They are.
I was wrong. They're rolling.
They're rolling on defense. They're rolling on offense. They're even rolling with Taysom Hill. I thought he was going to throw the ball earlier. Like, he looked like he was going to throw the ball, but then he just kept it and ran for 15 and a first down. Jumped over a dude like a badass, and then just jumped right up after he got hit. That dude is, that wouldn't last if he was doing that every snap. But the beauty of it is he can just take a pounding.
I still wish they would have him throw the ball every now and then just to keep defensive guessing.
For sure. And if you look in the Minnesota playoff game last year, he had that really nice pass.
Yep. Great pass.
But I don't think he even has 200 yards of passing in his NFL career because he just never gets the chance. So have you heard any more about if he is still planning, if they're still planning to make him Drew's successor?
No, they keep saying that. I'll believe it when I see it. I think if you've got Jameis Winston sitting there and he fits he fits Peyton's style more anyway. I'm going to say it's Jameis Winston until somebody proves me different.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that you're going to replace someone like Breeze, who's thrown for so many yards in his career, with someone who's thrown so little.
Yeah, I can't see him.
I think, as weird as it sounds, not really, but sort of, that even the ridiculous money that they're paying Taysom Hill for what he does is almost worth it just to add that element to your offense.
Yeah, and look, they've gotten everybody paid that needs to be paid. They paid Thomas, they paid Kamara, they paid Hill. So you're getting out of Breeze's contract after this year. So, I mean, they're in good shape.
Yeah, they are. And what they have has to work because they've really, like you said, they've gone all in. So they can't afford any high-paying players not to perform like the Cowboys.
Well, that's the other thing is that the advantage they have is they've paid all their highest paid players. Now they're all in like their first or second year of their contract.
Right.
And then Breeze is going away, so you don't have the huge Breeze contract. So your next quarterback, whoever it is not going to top money. You're going to get him at a discount.
I thought I saw where they're going to still have to pay Drew if he retires this year. They're still going to have to pay him like $24 million next year.
He's on an option. He's got an option for next year.
Okay. So if he retires, then they're out of it?
Yep.
Okay. So then I would make him retire if I'm the Saints.
Oh, he's going to retire. I mean,
you would think.
He's going to retire.
You would think, but I don't know. I want to see him get a ring. There's no better way than seeing a quarterback that good to go out on top, getting a ring. Oh, for sure. And you want to see him still be a contributing factor to that. Everyone says, look at Peyton Manning. He won a ring his last year. They won in spite of him. He was awful. Yeah, he was absolutely no resemblance of the Peyton Manning of before.
No,
he was terrible. Drew still has a lot more left now than Peyton did then. Peyton Manning, that is. So for what they want Drew to do and what they ask him to do at this point, I think he could do that another year if he chose to. Because he doesn't throw the ball deep. I mean, most of his stuff is checkdowns. Most of his stuff is crossing patterns. He can do that at 42.
I don't want to see that. Just go out on top. Why keep doing this?
What I'm saying, I'm saying if they don't go out on top this year, if he has another heartbreaking playoff loss.
No, I know, but even then, I mean, even if he doesn't get the ring, I mean, he's still going out on top in a way because his team is good. They're going to have a good record. They're going to go into playoffs. Even if you don't win the Super Bowl, you're still on top because you didn't crash and burn in your last year.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying, but I still think that's going to be so much easier said than done.
I think so too, but
if they have another, especially, I mean, last year they didn't go deep in the playoffs. They got shocked in the first round. Should have been probably in the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship. So say they get to the NFC Championship this year and they just don't quite get it done. It's got to be in the back of his mind to just give it one more run.
Think about this though. Last year they they lost in the first round of playoffs, and Breeze was all intents and purposes he was retired, and it was not until March or April he decided to come back. So there's at least weighing on his mind.
Yeah.
So you'd have to think.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So we'll see. He's probably done, especially with the whole NBC Sports thing looming, and I don't know the details of that, but he's basically already committed to it. So, oh yeah, he's gonna be fantastic. He'll be like Tony Romo.
Now it's time for Top 7. Number 7.
Buffalo Bills. Lane has had them in his top 7. I have not. I'm going to put them in today. I was very impressed with them. When they play this way, they're very hard to beat. So I like Buffalo at 7. I'm taking the Colts out. I think the Colts are absolutely a product of an easy schedule. When they win, they're not there for me anymore.
Number 6.
Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are still a good team. They get back on the winning track today. They have the formula to go deep into the playoffs. They've proven even last season that they can go and they can beat Baltimore on the road. They can compete with Kansas City. So they're still going to be a threat come the end of the season.
Number 5.
Seattle Seahawks. I have them falling a little bit. That defense is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. So you're asking Russell Wilson to literally be perfect. It still scares the hell out of me come playoff time. I don't think they're going to be able to compete with the elite teams. The only reason I have them as high as I do is because the NFC is down as overall, and they're still alive for that number 1 seed. So Seattle at 5.
Number 4.
Baltimore Ravens at number 4. They do struggle with the top teams in the league, with Kansas City, with Pittsburgh. But for everyone else, they just beat them up. They're a solid football team. They can run the ball. Lamar is Lamar. They're a really good team. So I have them at number 4.
Number 3.
New Orleans Saints. I am thoroughly impressed with their beatdown of Tampa tonight. And I think the sky's the limit for this team. They're absolutely, in my mind, the front runner for the NFC at this point in the season.
Number 2.
Pittsburgh Steelers. While I was kind of let down by their performance today, they still got a win, and they're still perfect. And they're still in line for that number 1 seed in the AFC. So you can't help but like Pittsburgh.
Number 1.
Kansas City. Although they really struggled at times today, Mahomes was fantastic. They're a great team. They still find a way to win these close games. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. Their defense plays when it has to. Kansas City Chiefs still number 1.
Number 7.
Tampa Bay Bucks. I know they're getting blown out tonight. I know it looks bad, but this team is still dangerous. Top defense. They still got Tom Brady. Still got an offense with elite receivers. So I'm going to go Tampa at number 7.
Number 6.
Buffalo at 6. Big win against Seattle. That was impressive. Even being at home, that was impressive. Josh Allen played well. And if this team is if this maybe is a sign that they're going to turn the corner and come back to what they were the first month of the season, look out. This team is dangerous.
Number 5.
Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson. Defense is starting to figure him out. No surprise there. But Baltimore's still playing well. They do struggle against the better teams, but they still are playing well. John Harbaugh's a hell of a coach, and he's got this team going well. So I got like Baltimore at number 5.
Number 4.
Pittsburgh Steelers. They find ways to win. This is a team that in the past, they've not always known for finding ways to win, but they've done very well this year in winning tight games. Today, look, on paper, there's no reason they should have gone the fourth quarter down against Dallas, but they did, and they found a way to come out of that. And so Pittsburgh's number 4.
Number 3.
Seattle. Not too worried about Seattle today, even in a loss. Russell Wilson's still amazing. Offense is still amazing. Defense is getting healthier. Jamal Adams. I think they'll be fine. I think we'll see in a couple weeks what this team is defensively, but I like Seattle at number 3 for right now.
Number 2.
New Orleans Saints, what can you say? I've been down on them all year. Every week, all they do is come out and win. Tonight, no different. I mean, they're blowing out Tampa in Tampa. There's not enough you can say about that. But Drew Brees playing well. Sean Payton, one of the best in the league. So Saints at 2.
Number 1.
You know it already. Kansas City Chiefs. And they're going to stay there until you give me a reason not to put them there. Until they lose against a bad team or a team not supposed to, or maybe even get blown out by a team not supposed to. Chiefs at 1. That's not going to change. I don't see that changing. So that's my top 7, and we'll see how it looks next week.
It's a solid top 7. It really is. And you've really come around on the Saints.
You would think you made that list for me.
You would. I mean, it looks similar to something I would do.
Yes.
I wouldn't have Seattle that high. I have real concern about that defense. Their offense is good, but that defense scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, I get it. I do. I get it, but I don't know. I think they're good. I think they're better than what they're showing.
We'll see. I mean, they're a 3-way tie for number 1 seed. Can't argue with that.
Yep.
Now it's time for the end of the road.
My end of the road team is a bit of crow I will eat, and I will go ahead and say the Chicago Bears. I was higher on them than Lane was for most of this season. They still have a great defense, but they're not. They're so limited on offense. And I thought Nick Foles could give them enough offense, but it's just, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, especially with Minnesota coming on. Chicago, they're not going to win the division. They're not going to be a wild card team. They're going to miss the playoffs. So this is the end of the road for the Chicago Bears, in my opinion, for being any kind of playoff threat.
They've been end of the road for several weeks, in my view. This team was never what we thought they were, and that offense masked a lot of problems. But they're going to figure it out. They still got some playmakers there. Nagy's still a hell of a coach. So if they can just nail that quarterback position, that team's going to be fine. That defense, they'll be playing fine, but they got to get a quarterback. My end of the road is going to be the Detroit Lions. Took a while to get to the Detroit Lions. I kept trying. I want to believe in this team. I want to believe they're good because they got a decent roster. Stafford is not a bad quarterback, and so I want to believe this team is better. But they keep underperforming every game, and that's Matt Patricia, and he'll be gone after this year. But I just thought this year I had high hopes, and a lot of people did. A lot of people thought this team was a wild card, and maybe even better than that. And they're not. This team's terrible. Another loss today against the Vikings. So they're 3-5. Season's over. Sorry, Detroit fans. See what you do next year, but they're gonna turn it over after this year. The coach will be gone. Stafford will be gone. They're gonna do a fire sale at the end of the year. So Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they need to, and I'd like to see Matt Stafford have a chance to actually.
I think Stafford and Dallas would be excellent.
Oh yeah, but that's not going to happen because they'd have to pay him top money, so they'd pay Dak. They just would. I mean, he's not going to command what Dak would command, but he'd command close.
I don't think he would at his age, and he's already gotten paid. So
maybe, but I mean, he's gonna want 35. I mean, what's the difference between 35 and 40? I mean, it's 5, I know, but it's not that much. So I don't know that you get such an. How old is he anyway? 34, 33.
Yeah, you know where he might be good at? Atlanta.
To me, he and Matt Ryan are essentially the same player. I mean, I don't know.
But he's less money than Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's getting paid a ton of money right now. You're going to offload that.
You're going to have to just start another one with Stafford. I mean, you're going to pay him.
Yeah, but he's 34. He's not going to command Patrick Mahomes money,
Well, no one is, but I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, sign him for 3 years and then get your quarterback.
I don't know. I mean, you're going to end up paying him 90% at least of what you're going to pay Matt Ryan or what you are paying Matt Ryan. And I don't see that he's any better. If not, I don't think he's quite as good. But I think somewhere like he would be gold in Indianapolis. I mean, they're a quarterback away.
I'd love to see that. Love to see that.
He would be magical in Denver. They're a quarterback away.
Yep.
Several of these teams that just need that quarterback. Chicago. I mean, you kidding me? With his cannon for an arm in that weather, wouldn't be an issue. I mean, it's gift wrap for them. I mean, I really am looking forward to it. And that's what I love about where the league is going is you're seeing these quarterbacks slowly but surely starting to gain mobility and not be afraid to move and go to another team. And then this old school mentality of you have to be loyal to a franchise. No, because a franchise is never loyal to you. The franchise cares about money. It is a business, and it should be a business for you. And if you're a top player, not even a top player, but I mean, when you look at what Stafford's done, I mean, statistically, he's been solid, very solid. And you can't put all the losing on him. I mean, it's just a losing franchise. Maybe worse than Cleveland or just about as bad. So
yeah, no, I don't put it on Stafford at all.
I mean,
he's a terrible franchise.
There's no reason for him. I mean, when is enough enough? When does he just stand up and say, I'm done. I'm done here.
Yep.
Trade me.
Sanders did it.
Trade me. I'm out. I'm done.
Barry Sanders and Megatron both did it.
I want to be done, and I'm done. So there's a lot of teams that would pay a lot of money to Matt Stafford, and a lot of teams would pay a lot of money to Matt Ryan too. They would definitely take on that contract. He would be fascinating. But the thing that Stafford has over Ryan is the arm strength. He just, I don't like you said you didn't know how Matt Ryan would be outside of a dome. It would totally depend on where it is. Do I want him in Denver or Chicago? No, because you have to have a strong arm to play in those elements.
Yeah.
So, Matt Stafford reminds me a lot of Jay Cutler in a sense of arm strength and really high upside, but then just makes the pick and the play, and you try too hard and you just make the boneheaded mistake. So if he could get some really good coaching, I mean, Chicago's a golden fit for him.
Yeah, I agree. Chicago would be great. Nagy with him would be excellent. I'd like to see that.
I would too. So we'll see. It's getting a lot more exciting to see these quarterbacks moving around. And I don't see that ending anytime soon. I think that steps up from here on out to where you draft a guy, you're going to have to take care of him, and you're going to have to pay him. Before you just had to pay him. Now you got to pay him and take care of them because they know their worth. They know their worth. And so be interesting to see. I think it's great for the league.
That's no doubt great for the league. And I hope Burrow follows suit in 3 or 4 years and moves on.
I do too. They've got 4 years to take care of him. If not, he needs to get the hell out of there.
Yep.
And there'll be about 20 teams that'll be lining up to pay for him.
Yeah.
Because unless you've got a elite quarterback right now, which there aren't more than 3 to 5 of, you're going to get him.
Yep.
So, any closing thoughts from you, sir?
Just want to mention just a quick note: the Boston Red Sox hired Alex Cora, went back to Alex Cora this week as their manager. He was suspended, or they thought would be suspended by the league, coming out of the Astros investigation, and Boston went ahead and fired him, and they brought him back. So he's going to be the manager. We'll see what he does, but he had success there before, and so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's very interesting to bring him back after firing him, but his name was cleared, so he deserves that chance.
So now, yeah, I agree. I like the hire. I think you got him and you got AJ Hinch back in the league, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with those two. Hinch more so. He's with Detroit, which is currently a bad team, so see if Hinch can throw things around there and make it right. See how good he really is without cheating. So, on top of that, would mention that, staying on top of the baseball, Tony La Russa coming back to the dugout, 76 years old, Chicago White Sox.
Well, I mean, he's still 2 years too young to be president, so he might as well do something else. I mean, 76 is a young cat these days for leadership roles, apparently. So, that's fascinating. I mean, I don't know. They've got a young and exciting roster. And we'll see, we'll see how he can relate to 21-year-olds. I mean, it's just really going to depend on if he can relate to their style and that they can learn all of the years of knowledge that he has. I mean, he's a great source of knowledge and inspiration for these players. So I'm excited to see if that'll work out.
Yeah, I am too. I see how he does, and I don't know how much you expect just because he's been out of the league or out of the dugout now for several years. So, we'll see. But it'd be interesting to watch him nonetheless, at least for a couple of years, see how he does. But
how many years did they sign him for?
I think it was 4 years.
4 years, okay.
Yeah, so I'm not 100%.
Cut off 80. At 80, they're like, at 80, they're like, okay, we got
and what's
here.
more than that is the GM did not really have any say in that. The owners one that decided.
Really? That is interesting.
They got a friendship, and the owner went and signed him and said, "This is my guy." So
there you go.
What do you do?
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yep. And moving on, different sport, but got to mention college football. Florida Gators blew out Georgia Bulldogs this week. Was impressive to watch. Did not think that was going to happen. I thought Georgia would beat them with the defense, but Florida looked excellent. Kyle Trask looks excellent. Shout out to one of my best friends over here, Jeff. He kept telling me about Florida all year, all off season. Florida's coming. I kept saying no way, and sure enough, here they are, and they look solid. They're in line now. They're going to play in the SEC championship, probably against Bama. So we'll see what they do, but they look very good.
And that's 2 losses now for Georgia, and that's not what we thought was going to happen.
Not at all.
Also, a thrilling game Saturday night. Notre Dame with a double overtime victory over the sunshineless Clemson team. So Clemson is still excellent. I mean, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, no, Clemson's fine.
They're going to be fine. But that was a good game. Notre Dame, I think, this is the best Notre Dame team I may be in my adult life.
I'm never ever going to be hung on Notre Dame because I've seen them play this well, and they'll get to the playoff and get shelled. So I'm not going to go down for a win for Notre Dame.
Normally, I would agree with you, but this is the type of competition they would play. And while they didn't have Lawrence, the other kid is really good.
He is, but he's still, first game, first action on the road in a big game. So, I mean, he played excellent. But if Lauren is in that game, I don't know if that's the same result.
Yeah, I think he's good for at least 10 points, but
Yeah.
we'll see. I think that, like I said, I think this is the best. I'm not saying that they're
Yeah.
the perennial favorite to win the title, but
Right.
this is a
No.
better top 4 Notre
Yeah,
Dame
they're
team
good.
than especially the one that got, shellacked several years ago by Alabama.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we'll see. I think they're legit.
We'll see how they finish. I never, like I said, I don't ever praise Notre Dame very highly. So now we get the playoffs and maybe they get the championship, then I'll change my tune. But right now, you're not hearing me praise Notre Dame a whole lot.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this show. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Don't forget to check us out on Friday's show. We're going to preview Week 10. It's hard to believe we're already at Week 10. We'll recap Thursday Night Football as well. You guys have a great week. And that's going to do it for us for this episode of Bending the Bracket. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to follow our latest content. You can also find us on Facebook or Twitter at Bending Sports. Have a great day.